This is every leak for The Mandalorian Season 3 from reliable and hit-and-miss sources. We're going to go through these leaks today. We're going to add some context to them and also add in some leaks that aren't mentioned in this post, but that actually tie in to some of the leaks already mentioned and some of the footage we've already seen. So let's read through it and see what we can expect from Season 3. So if we pop this down here, this is on the StarWarsLeaks subreddit, and it says The Mandalorian Season 3 leaks compilation. Now, these are from reliable leakers historically for other Star Wars series that we've had in the past, such as Making Star Wars, Bespin Bulletin, and the rest of it. So let's have a look. The first thing that strikes me really interestingly on here is this part here. It says the CCXP footage was the same as the publicly released trailer and didn't have Boba Fett. Now, if you remember a little while ago, there was allegedly some footage shown at CCXP in Brazil in, I think it was the back end of 2022 now, that showed footage of Boba Fett briefly in one of them scenes. Well, it actually turns out that that wasn't true. So, as far as we know at the moment, Boba Fett might not even be in Season 3 of The Mandalorian. Now, he could well be, but he might not be. And I think we're going to come on to a little bit more about Boba Fett in a moment, actually. But first, let's look at the characters and the cast for this upcoming season. So, what we have confirmed so far is obviously Din Djarin and Grogu, which is pretty self-explanatory. But then we've also got Bo-Katan, which we've seen in the trailers, Greef Karga we've seen, the Armourer we've seen, Paz Vizsla, Carson Teva, Dr. Pershing, who's been seen a few times in different spots, and a comms officer. Now, there's someone who looks like Tim Meadows in the Celebration teaser, and Christopher Lloyd is reported to be in the show by The Hollywood Reporter, and it's said that he plays an old Mandalorian clan leader with a horned helmet. And that's from Making Star Wars. So that's leaked for different places there. So there's quite a lot of backing for that one. Now, Axe Woves is leaked from an image in Bespin Bulletin, and an actress with resemblance to Cosca Reeves, also from Bespin Bulletin, in a leaked video. Now, Axe Woves, he was there when Bo-Katan rescued Din Djarin and Grogu from that pirate ship in The Mandalorian Season 2, but he was notably absent from The Mandalorian Season 2 final when Luke Skywalker appeared, and apparently there's good reason for that, and that will hopefully be explained in Season 3, but we do know he's now back. Now you've got IG-11 Mech, voiced by Taika Waititi. Now this is very important, this is a very good leak, and we'll be coming on to a little bit more about this in a moment. We've also got Praetorian Guards, which we've seen leaked footage from already, or a leaked concept art even, and we've also got Mandalorians played by costuming groups and with armoured foundlings. Now, you have the Mandalorian cosplayers that go to Star Wars celebrations and things like that, and from what I can understand is they've actually been brought in to The Mandalorian Season 3 because they need a lot of Mandalorians for this season, so it's really good to see some fans being brought on board as well. Very exciting. You've got Sabine Wren, and that was leaked by Jordan Mason on Twitter. Natasha Lee Bordizzo got the role of Sabine Wren in May 2021. Now, this is before Season 3 started shooting and a whole year before the Ahsoka series started filming. So, is that reason to believe that she's going to be in Mando Season 3? I think there's a good chance if you get Rosario Dawson in there as Ahsoka, and we know that the Ahsoka series is going to tie in heavily to the Rebels and effectively be a live-action Rebels continuation. So, funnily enough, it actually says Rosario Dawson next of all. So, she was filming Star Wars in December 2021, and that was reported by Mark Bernstein. But the Ahsoka series itself didn't start filming until May 2022. So that's like 5 months later. Now, you could say that she was maybe rehearsing for the role, you know, getting up to scratch with the fight scenes and whatnot. Or that could allude to her being part of The Mandalorian Season 3. Now, I think she's most likely going to be in Mando Season 3 than just rehearsing for Ahsoka. We know these shows are looking to tie into one another directly, and it would make sense having Ahsoka in Mando Season 3 to further build the hype and tie in for the Ahsoka series when it drops, most likely around the summertime. You got Jim O'Hare, filmed Star Wars in New Mexico in March 2022. Charles Baker, heavily hinted, is in this season. Pavish Kenchina has a voice performance of some kind. And Jib Dodger, played by Rick. Rick said keep a sharp eye for him. So, Greef Karga appears in 4 episodes according to Carl Weathers, and that starts in episode 1, which could be something we saw in the trailer, where Greef Karga is greeting Mando on Navarro, and they even have released that footage of them two interacting, and I think Greef Karga was basically trying to sell him a flat, or rent him a flat somewhere on Navarro to stay there. So that could very much be in Season 1 as well, in episode 1 even. You've got the Armourer, she's going to be more prominent in this season. Emily Swallow teased the premiere. So that makes sense as well. I can get behind that, because the Armorer is going to play a big part if they're going to try and retake Mandalore. You know, she's somewhat of a leader for Din Djarin's sect there. So it'll be interesting to see how she gets on with characters like Bo-Katan. She's already spoke about her being a cautionary tale. So how will she adapt to the way the other Mandalorians choose to live without wearing their helmets and whatnot? That'd be very interesting. According to Making Star Wars, he has never heard about Boba Fett being in a major Mandalorian scene for this season and battles at all this season. So if Boba is in it, it'll be a smaller role. Making Star Wars is sure that Boba will appear in the next project after Skeleton Crew. So that'd be a 2024 project, I'd imagine. Whether it's Mando Season 4 or Book of Boba Fett Season 2, or even both, because they're making Slave 1 props right now. Now, crew. So you got Favreau, he wrote all the episodes. Noah Claw co-wrote episode 3. And Dave Filoni co-wrote episode 4 and 7. Now, you can probably think that with Dave Filoni writing 4 and 7, you're going to get maybe some Ahsoka in them shows. Or maybe even some Luke Skywalker as well, potentially. And that was from the Writers Guild. Now, directors. Now, Rick Famuyiwa, he's been a director in previous seasons of The Mandalorian. He's also executive producer this time around, so he's got a much bigger role to play in Season 3. You've also got Bryce Dallas Howard returning, Carl Weathers. You've also got Lee Isaac Chung, Rachel Morrison, and Peter Ramsey. Now, Rick directed the first and last episode, and he worked with Emily Swallow, Tate Fletcher, and Carl Weathers in a couple of other episodes. Carl directed an episode in the middle of the season, and you got Joseph Shirley coming in as composer, David Klein, Paul Hewden, and Quian Tran as cinematography. So, plot. This is where the fun begins. Now, you got a Mando battle. Now, there's a battle scene with around 75 Mandalorians. Some of them are the fan costumes that we've already mentioned. These Mandos are also going to do some armor swapping of pieces to create even more variants to be seen on screen. So they could swap some chest plates with some helmets and mix them all up so it looks like different Mandalorians. So you could say 75 Mandalorians, but that could even turn out to be hundreds once they've chopped and changed all their armor around. Some Mandalorians have Stormtrooper parts to complete missing armor pieces from Making Star Wars. That's very interesting. You know, Beskar isn't that common in the galaxy, so you know, for them to remain covered and protect themselves as best as they can, especially if they're going into some kind of conflict, then they might as well salvage whatever they've got left. And you know, there's a lot of Stormtrooper parts kicking around on the floors of the galaxy, so might as well use it. So, Making Star Wars saw a few pieces of red armor from Maul's Mandos in the Clone Wars. So this could very much tie into here, where they're using Stormtrooper parts to complete missing armors. They could also be using the red armor from Maul's Mandos to patch some bits up as well. Armored children foundlings are going to fight next to their caretakers. So you're going to get Mandalorian foundling children fighting against Mandalorian, or fighting alongside Mandalorians. Now that just tells me that whatever fight they're up against, they're spread thin. So, you know, they must be quite desperate to get the foundlings involved in such a fight. You know, they need as many as they can get, basically, at this point. Now, Making Star Wars speculates, and this could tie in nicely to what we just mentioned, with them being spread thin. Disparate individual Mandalorians from around the galaxy answer a call Din Djarin sends out to the galaxy for help. Din Djarin's legend is growing throughout the galaxy as rumours of a true Mandalore returning is heard throughout the galaxy. When Din makes the call, it is answered by more Mandalorians than you could ever have imagined. This could tie into the 75 plus Mandos. Either that, or I did hear a leak a little while ago which kind of ties in nicely, and you know, it kind of backs it up with seeing the Mandalorians on what it looks like to be Tatooine in the trailer, is that Mandalorians settle on Tatooine and they're settling inside the territory of the Tuskens, and this causes some kind of conflict. Now this could bring Boba Fett into some kind of small role, as it was quoted by Making Star Wars, you know, if he's in it, it's going to be a small role, he's not heard anything. This could bring Boba Fett into it, or even Boba, he could have a bigger role, it just hasn't been leaked out. But you kind of see the Mandalorians on Tatooine in the trailer, so I'm kind of thinking that could be true. Kind of adds more weight to it. I can't remember where that exact leak comes from, just remember hearing about it. And that could also be the 75 Mandos, so there could be a few different times that we could get a decent amount of Mandalorians show up. So, Moff Gideon. This is actually from Giancarlo Esposito, the actor himself. He goes on to say, yes, it's assumed he is behind bars. I think we could have an opportunity to see him escape those chains that bind him. We want to see a guy who is a mastermind, who has an idea for the future that no one else has. Gideon is a warden of a certain part of the galaxy and wants to bring other wardens of the Empire together. He is bait and switching. Gideon believes he could convince the other wardens of the Empire that his way would be the best to bring the Empire back, but the others who want to join want to own the company themselves. So the other wardens he's trying to get on board to his idea actually have their own ideas of ruling the Empire. So it could cause a bit of an internal conflict within Moff Gideon and the other Imperial remnants. Gideon wears a black Mandalorian helmet. It has horns on the top like the armourer, but it has the classic T-shaped visor. The helmet matches the outfit we've already seen him in. And the helmet will be black with red eyes and horns on it. The horns will be 6, similar to what Darth Maul had. It will resemble a Mandalorian helmet, but it won't be exactly the same as the other Mando helmets we've seen. It will look closer to Boba Fett's helmet, but it will be black, shiny, and very sleek. It will also be a bit bigger than the rest. Now, Moff Gideon, I think it was Giancarlo Esposito actually came out and said that, he wants to be a Mandalorian for that tight-knit group they have. And I guess, Moff Gideon, if he had the choice, he'd rather be Force sensitive. You can bet your bottom dollar that's the case, but if you can't be Force sensitive, what's the next best thing? So that's why he, has this Mandalorian armor. He wants to effectively rule Mandalore, I believe, himself in some degree, and that's why he has the Praetorian Guards with him, which we're going to come on to in a moment. Now, Gideon is getting a full upgrade. He'll also have a black and red jetpack. Now, Praetorian Guards, so we've actually seen some concept art here. Let's see if we can pull this up. Here we go. So we've got the concept art for the Praetorian Guards, and this is what they're going to look like in Season 3 of The Mandalorian. Now, this could very much allude to Snoke being a part of it, or maybe bridging the gateway to Snoke at a later date, or this could just be Moff Gideon's protectors in a way. So could go either way, in my opinion. So Din Djarin fights with red troopers and at least 2 Praetorian Guards. Red stormtrooper costumes with Mando-style helmets were with the Praetorian Guards on a ship set. So that could potentially be, red stormtrooper costumes with Mando-style helmets. Could they be Mandalorians that have defected to the Empire? Maybe. 5 Praetorian Guards will protect Moff Gideon. But that's not to say that Snoke won't have some sort of involvement. There could still be something, even if Snoke's not directly going to be in The Mandalorian Season 3, he could be alluded to. Or there could be clues that it's all leading to Snoke, more so than what we've already had before. Now, IG-11, this is a very big one, I think. IG-11 becomes a mech suit to Grogu. He has been reinforced with Beskar and turned into Grogu's suit of armor. If you're going into battle and you're on a big battlefield, Grogu is going to be the weak link regardless of his Force abilities. He can only use the Force for such a short period of time before he gets tired out. So, and he's quite vulnerable to attack still and being captured. So having him in this mech suit really makes him a stronger character. Until he's old enough to really control the Force properly, that's probably the best outcome for him. So you're kind of thinking like Iron Man inside his suit, where you got Grogu inside the IG-11 mech suit. Now, the IG-11 mech is controlled by Grogu. It acts as Grogu's Jarvis. IG-11 gives Grogu probability of success and protects him. Based on a character named Seripas from Clone Wars, concept evolved from asking what it would be if Seripas used the High Singer assassin droid as his mech suit. So that's where they got the idea of having IG-11 as Grogu's mech suit. After the upgrade, Grogu is going to beat stormtroopers. So that's pretty dope. There's going to be a fight on a frozen lake on Mandalore with Grogu IG-11 mech. So this is the scene for something really important, which we're going to come on to in a moment. So Bo-Katan is facing off against a fellow helmetless Mandalorian. The Mandalorian she's fighting bears a resemblance to Woves, but as does the man behind her, and that's Best Been Bulletin leak video. Now, there are 2 leaked LEGO sets based on this season, a Pirate Snub Fighter and Fang Fighter versus TIE Interceptor. The sets feature a Mandalorian figure that looks like part of Clan Kryze, the V on the helmet. Scenes which featured a large mountain with snow on top of it in the background, and that Din Djarin, Yama, Paz Vizsla were around for those scenes. There are other characters or actors around, might be linked to a cave with black dirt. So that's pretty random to me, but you never know. Best Been Bulletin are usually quite good with this kind of thing. So a stunt person fought as an alien against bounty hunters in a foggy location, according to IMDb, in episode 5, and there were big crowd scenes. Now Batuu is coming to an upcoming Disney Plus show. That's from Diz Insider. That's a rumour. Now what's interesting about Batuu is there's actually a mythosaur skull on Batuu. So could they be needing that in what they're doing to bring back Mandalore? Now the final scenes, and this could tie into that Batuu rumour there. Din, Grogu and IG-11 mech, the armourer, Paz Vizsla, Death Watch, Bo-Katan and her allies, and a few others are on a frozen lake. That's the second time this lake's been mentioned, and it's a huge moment in the series. All the clans of Mandalore are united. An old crusty light-skinned man, Christopher Lloyd, and an old crusty dark-skinned man are the leaders of oppositional Mandalorian forces that reluctantly come together. There's a purification ceremony for Mandalore. Now it's filmed a large purification ceremony where there's drums playing. The production had a giant pool set constructed of these sequences. There's also a huge fire sort of Olympic torch lightning element to the ritual. The armourer gave Bo-Katan a torch and she lit this flame. Everyone begins chanting for Mandalore in unison and clanking their gauntlets together. Now for me that tells me Bo-Katan is going to be the ruler of Mandalore in this upcoming season. Mythosaur. So the Mythosaur is awoken in the final, chases everyone around and causes a bunch of trouble before it's brought under control. And Bo-Katan will get a Mythosaurian armour. So it looks like if they do have any conflict of differences, the armour and Bo-Katan will settle them. They'll be working together at some stage. Come the end of the show, everyone's going to be getting on well. It looks like Mandalorians return to Mandalore, and it looks like Bo-Katan is going to lead them. Now, the Songs of Eons Past spoke the Mythosaur rising up to herald a new age for the Mandalorian homeworld of Mandalore. So this could very much be that. You know, that prophecy could become true, and it looks like to me that Bo-Katan's going to be the one leading them. Whether she's going to hold the Darksaber or not, I'm not too sure. We'll just have to wait and see for that one. Not too long now, guys. So, what do you make of these leaks? Is there any on here that you think are most likely to happen, or some that you think are a little out of place, you're not too sure about? Let me know in the comments. Remember to like and subscribe. I'll catch you in the next one. May the Force be with you.